The Silent Rebellion. High Counselor Zixthar of the Galactic Alliance stood at the observation deck of the celestial spire, his iridescent scales reflecting the light of distant stars. The massive structure, floating above the Alliance capital world of New Genesis, had hosted countless diplomatic meetings over its thousand-year history. But today felt different. The air itself seemed charged with an unfamiliar tension. "They're late," muttered first speaker Elan, her crystalline form pulsing with barely contained irritation. "The humans are always late." Zixthar remained silent, his compound eyes fixed on the approaching vessel. The human diplomatic ship looked exactly as it always had, outdated by Alliance standards, with visible welding marks and what appeared to be primitive propulsion systems. For 3 centuries, the Alliance had dismissed humanity as a curious species, technically spacefaring, but hardly worth serious consideration. The ship docked with its usual clumsiness, and Zixthar prepared himself for another tedious meeting with Ambassador Chen, the perpetually polite but ineffective human representative. Instead, when the airlock cycled open, a different figure emerged. Admiral Sarah Mitchell strode onto the observation deck, her midnight blue uniform bearing no resemblance to the usual diplomatic attire. Her silver hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her eyes held none of the usual human deference. "High Counselor," she said, her voice carrying an authority that made several Alliance representatives shift uncomfortably. "I believe it's time we had an honest conversation." Zixthar's secondary heart began beating faster. Something was very wrong. "Ambassador Chen has resigned," Mitchell interrupted, "along with every other human diplomat in Alliance space, as of 0000 hours Earth Standard Time. Humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Alliance." The announcement sent ripples of surprised murmurs through the gathered representatives. Elan stepped forward, her crystalline form now pulsing with deep red hues. "You cannot simply withdraw. The treaties." "The treaties," Mitchell said, "that relegated humanity to the outer rim. The ones that restricted our shipbuilding capacity. The agreements that forced us to share our FTL developments while receiving outdated technology in return." She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Those treaties expired the moment your corporations began secretly raiding our research outposts." "Those are baseless accusations," Zixthar began, but Mitchell pulled out a small holographic projector. The image that appeared showed an Alliance military vessel, clearly marked with corporate insignias, attacking a small research station. "This happened 6 months ago in the Proxima sector," Mitchell said. "We lost 12 researchers. Their only crime was working on quantum entanglement communication systems that might have competed with Alliance technology." The room fell silent. Zixthar felt his scales flatten against his body, a sign of deep distress in his species. "If this evidence is genuine, we can launch an investigation." "No need," Mitchell interrupted again. "We've already conducted our investigation. In fact, we've been investigating for the past 300 years. She pressed another button on the projector, and the image changed to show something that made every Alliance representative gasp. It was a map of human space, but not the one that appeared in Alliance databases. Instead of a scattered collection of poorly developed colonies, it showed vast networks of interconnected systems. Where there should have been primitive mining operations, there were massive shipyards. The supposedly weak human defense forces were revealed to be an elaborate deception, hiding fleets that rivaled the Alliance's own. "Impossible," Elan whispered, her crystalline form now completely dark. "Our surveys saw exactly what we wanted them to see," Mitchell said. "Those outdated ships, decoys, the primitive stations, facades hiding quantum manufacturing facilities. Every time you dismissed us as backwards, we built something new. Every time you denied us entry into your advanced research projects, we developed something better." Zixthar felt the deck seemingly shift beneath his feet. Why reveal this now? Mitchell's expression hardened. "Because today, the last piece of our plan falls into place. As we speak, human forces are deploying throughout our territory. our real territory. We're activating defense systems that have been in place for decades, and we're done pretending to be less than we are." She turned to address the entire gathering. "For 3 centuries, you treated humanity as a curiosity at best, a nuisance at worst. You assumed our politeness was weakness, our patience was primitive thinking. Our willingness to start at the bottom was proof of our inferiority." Her voice carried across the suddenly still chamber. "You never considered that we might be learning, watching, planning." The hologram changed again, showing real-time feeds of massive human fleets emerging from hidden docks, of defense platforms uncloaking around supposedly primitive colonies, of sleek warships that bore no resemblance to the patchwork vessels humanity had always shown the Alliance. "Humanity is withdrawing from the Alliance," Mitchell continued, "but we're not leaving. We're stepping out of the shadows. As of now, human space is closed to Alliance traffic. Any unauthorized vessels will be turned back. Any aggressive action will be met with overwhelming force." "This is madness," Elon protested. "You'll be isolated, cut off from Alliance trade routes, from our technology." Mitchell's laugh cut through the chamber like a blade. "Your trade routes. Take a closer look at that map, Speaker Elon. Note how our primitive colonies just happen to sit at crucial junction points. Technology. The Alliance hasn't produced anything truly revolutionary in 50 years. We have." She turned to leave, then paused. "We're not declaring war. We're not seeking revenge for centuries of condescension. We're simply done playing by your rules. Humanity is ready to talk as equals, but only as equals." As Mitchell walked toward the exit, Sixthar found his voice. "And if we refuse?" She didn't turn around. "Then you'll learn exactly how much humanity has advanced while you weren't watching. You have 48 hours to withdraw all Alliance assets from human space. After that, we'll remove them ourselves." The door closed behind her with a final, decisive hiss. In the silence that followed, Zixthar stared at the still active hologram showing humanity's true strength. 3 centuries of assumptions crumbled around him as he realized the truth. They had never been containing humanity. Humanity had been containing them. The human diplomatic vessel departed as clumsily as it had arrived. Its last act of deception. As it cleared the station, its hull shimmered in change, revealing sleek lines and advanced technology that no one in the Alliance had ever seen before. It vanished into FTL without a trace, leaving behind a room full of stunned representatives and the dawning realization that the galaxy's balance of power had just shifted irrevocably. The age of Alliance dominance was over. The era of human ascendancy had begun, and it had started not with a bang, but with 3 centuries of silence. The awakening fleet, Grand Admiral Kenajong, stood on the bridge of the TES Prometheus, watching as centuries of careful planning finally bore fruit. The massive view screen showed hundreds of ships emerging from their hidden docks throughout the Perseus Arm, each vessel a testament to human ingenuity and patience. For 300 years, humanity had hidden their true technological achievements behind a carefully crafted mask of mediocrity. Now that mask was being discarded. "Status report," she commanded, her voice calm despite the historic nature of the moment. "Operation Revelation proceeding as planned," Admiral, her XO, Commander Davis, reported. "All fleet groups reporting in. Quantum shields at full power, stealth systems disengage. The Alliance is scrambling to respond, but their sensor networks are in chaos." Kenna allowed herself a small smile. The Alliance's vaunted sensor networks have been compromised for decades, their algorithms subtly altered by human cyber warfare teams to ignore certain signatures, dismiss certain anomalies. It had been surprisingly easy. The Alliance's arrogance had made them careless. "Message from Fleet Group Theta," the communications officer announced. "They've secured the Arcturus Junction. Alliance peacekeepers are withdrawing without incident." On the tactical display, hundreds of green dots represented human vessels taking up strategic positions throughout what had once been considered Alliance space. The true extent of human territory was finally being revealed, And it was vast, far larger than the small cluster of primitive colonies the Alliance had documented. "Admiral," Commander Davis said, his voice tight with controlled excitement, "the Lazarus Protocol is ready for implementation. Waiting for your command." Kenna nodded. This was the moment that would truly show the galaxy what humanity had achieved while playing the role of technological backwater. Execute Lazarus Protocol. Across human space, massive structures began to emerge from their quantum camouflage. Space stations that dwarfed anything in the Alliance inventory, manufacturing complexes that could produce advanced warships in days rather than months, defense platforms with weapons that violated what the Alliance considered possible. "Ma'am, we're detecting multiple Alliance battle groups approaching the Perseus border," Tactical reported. "Their weapons are hot." "Show me," Kenna ordered. The display shifted to show a formation of Alliance warships, their distinctive organic-synthetic hybrid designs gleaming in the starlight. They were impressive ships by Alliance standards, and hopelessly outmatched. "Open a channel," she commanded. The communications officer nodded, and Kenna addressed the approaching Alliance fleet. "Alliance vessels, this is Grand Admiral Jung of the Terran Defense Force. You are approaching sovereign human space. Stand down and withdraw, or we will be forced to demonstrate exactly how far human military technology has advanced." The response was immediate and predictable. "This is Fleet Commander Vexthal. Your actions constitute a violation of multiple Alliance treaties. Stand down your forces and prepare to be boarded." Kenna sighed. She had hoped they wouldn't choose this path, but she had expected it. Deploy the Aegis. Around the Prometheus and every other human vessel, space itself seemed to ripple. The Aegis shield system, one of humanity's most closely guarded developments, came online. It didn't just stop weapons fire. It redirected the energy, rendering conventional Alliance weapons worse than useless. "Alliance vessels, this is your final warning," Kenna transmitted. "We have no desire for conflict, but we will defend our territory." The Alliance ships opened fire. Their energy weapons splashed harmlessly against the Aegis shields, the power dissipating into subspace. Several human vessels actually showed increased shield strength, their Aegis systems converting the attack into useful energy. "Target the propulsion systems only," Kenna ordered. "Minimum force." The Prometheus's weapon systems, hidden beneath layers of quantum camouflage for 3 centuries, revealed their true nature. Precision graviton beams reached out across space, delicately severing the Alliance ship's ability to maneuver. In less than 30 seconds, the entire Alliance battle group was drifting, powerless but unarmed. "Status of Alliance fleet?" Kenna asked, though she already knew the answer. "All vessels disabled. Minimal damage. No casualties," Tactical reported. "Their crews are unharmed, but rather upset." "Deploy rescue and containment units," Kenna ordered. "Treat them with respect. They're about to have a very difficult day as it is." As human rescue ships moved to secure the disabled Alliance vessels, reports continued to pour in from across the Perseus arm. Everywhere, the story was the same. Alliance forces encountering technology they couldn't understand, couldn't match, and couldn't defeat. "Message from Earth Command," communications announced. "Operation Revelation is proceeding ahead of schedule. All strategic objectives secured. The Alliance Council is requesting an emergency meeting." Kenna nodded. "Send them our terms. We'll meet, but not on their territory or their terms. If they want to understand what humanity has become, they can come to us." She turned to study the tactical display again. Across human space, thousands of ships were taking up defensive positions, their true capabilities finally unveiled. Space stations were transforming from seemingly ramshackle constructions into gleaming bastions of advanced technology. And in every sector, Alliance forces were withdrawing, finally confronted with the reality that they had never truly understood their supposed inferiors. "Admiral," Commander Davis said quietly, "do you think they understand yet what we've actually done?" "No," Kenna replied, watching as another Alliance battle group turned and fled, rather than challenge a human patrol. They think this is about military power, about ships and weapons. They haven't realized that we've completely transformed the galaxy's balance of power. Every piece of Alliance technology that they thought was superior to ours, we surpassed it decades ago. Every trade route they thought they controlled, we've built alternatives. Every strategic resource they thought they had a monopoly on, we found substitutes or better sources. She turned to face her crew, seeing the pride in their faces. Pride not just in their revelation of strength, but in the centuries of discipline it had taken to reach this moment. We didn't just build a fleet, she continued. We built an entire civilization in secret, advancing our technology and expanding our influence while letting them think we were standing still. And we did it not because we wanted war, but because we wanted true peace, the kind that comes from genuine respect, not perceived superiority. The Prometheus continued its patrol, its quantum drives humming with power that defied Alliance physics, its sensors reaching out across space in ways the Alliance had deemed impossible. Around it, humanity's true strength continued to emerge from centuries of shadows, like a butterfly finally breaking free of its chrysalis. The age of deception was over. The time for truth had begun. The Alliance shatters. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Alliance was in chaos. Representative Cathal watched from his elevated position as the gathered delegates descended into what humans would call a madhouse. The massive holographic displays showed the ongoing situation across Alliance space, or what they had thought was Alliance space. Order. High Speaker Venra's voice boomed across the chamber, her crystalline form pulsing with emergency frequencies. We must maintain order. But order was becoming an increasingly foreign concept. The Alliance, which had stood unchanged for 10,000 years, was facing an unprecedented crisis, not from external invasion or internal rebellion, but from the simple revelation that they had been utterly, catastrophically wrong. The Mercantile Confederation withdraws from the Alliance Defense Pact, announced the Confederation's representative, his insectoid mandibles clicking with agitation. We cannot maintain military commitments based on false intelligence. More declarations followed. The trading houses of the Rigel sector suspended their participation in Alliance economic protocols. The Andromedan League questioned the validity of existing territorial agreements. With each announcement, another piece of the mighty Alliance began to crack. Cathal's personal communicator chimed. A message from his government. Vote for immediate military response. He deleted it without responding. His people, like so many others, didn't understand. This wasn't a crisis that could be solved with warships. The humans had already proven that. We have a transmission from Earth, announced the communications officer, her tentacles writhing with stress. They're offering to share their technological developments. The chamber fell silent. On the main display, Admiral Sarah Mitchell appeared, her expression neutral but her eyes containing a hint of what humans called amusement. Honorable representatives, she began, we understand this is a difficult time. The revelation of humanity's true capabilities has destabilized many of your assumptions about galactic order. We wish to be clear, this was never our intended outcome. A Centaurian delegate rose, his energy form flickering with anger. You deceived us for centuries. You built secret fleets, hidden installations. We protected ourselves. Mitchell interrupted calmly. When humanity first reached the stars, we studied your histories. We saw how the Alliance treated species it considered technologically inferior. The trade restrictions, the resource quotas, the protective oversight that somehow always benefited established Alliance powers. She paused, letting her words sink in. We chose a different path. We showed you what you expected to see. A young, struggling species learning to navigate the galaxy. Meanwhile, we built something new, something better. The display shifted to show human technological achievements, quantum drives that made Alliance FTL look primitive, medical advances that could revolutionize healing across the galaxy, agricultural techniques that could end food scarcity on dozens of worlds. We offer this freely, Mitchell continued. not as tribute, not as reparation, but as equals. The old alliance was built on hierarchy, established powers maintaining their position by controlling access to technology and resources. We propose something different. True cooperation. Thull watched as the chamber erupted again, but this time the tone was different. Representatives were clustering in small groups, their conversations intense but no longer panicked. The alliance was fracturing, yes, but perhaps it needed to fracture. The humans are right, he found himself saying, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet chamber. Look at what our superiority has brought us. Stagnation. When was the last time the Alliance produced a truly revolutionary advancement? While we were congratulating ourselves on our enlightened civilization, humanity quietly surpassed us. He gestured to the displays showing human achievements. They're offering us a choice. We can cling to our old hierarchies and watch them crumble, or we can embrace change. Real change. High Speaker Vendra's crystalline form shifted through various frequencies before settling on a calm blue. Representative Cathal speaks wisdom. The Alliance as we knew it cannot survive this revelation. But perhaps it shouldn't. More delegates began to speak, not with panic or anger now, but with thoughtful consideration. The Andromedan League proposed a committee to study human technological integration. The trading houses suggested new economic protocols based on merit rather than status. Even the Mercantile Confederation indicated willingness to discuss new arrangements. As Cathal watched the proceedings, he realized he was witnessing not just the end of the old alliance, but the birth of something new. Humanity had done more than reveal their true strength. They had forced the galaxy to confront its own weaknesses. His communicator chimed again. Another message from his government, but this one was different. Negotiate. Learn. Adapt. He smiled, sending back a simple acknowledgement. They were beginning to understand. In the following days, the old power structures of the Alliance continued to crack and reshape themselves. Some species withdrew completely, preferring isolation to the new uncertainty. Others pushed aggressively for closer ties with humanity, hoping to benefit from their advanced technology. But most, like Cathal's people, chose a middle path. They recognized that the galaxy was changing, that the comfortable hierarchies of the past were gone. Humanity had shown them that progress didn't have to come at the expense of others, that advancement could be achieved through patience and innovation rather than domination. The alliance was shattering, but from its fragments, something new was emerging. Something that might, in time, prove stronger than the old order had ever been. And somewhere in human space, Thull suspected, humanity was watching with quiet satisfaction as their centuries-long plan achieved exactly what they had hoped. Not conquest, not revenge, but transformation. The Truth of Terra. Dr. Elena Rodriguez led the delegation of Alliance scientists through the quantum gates of the Terran Advanced Research Institute, hidden beneath the surface of Europa. For centuries, this facility had been disguised as a simple ice mining operation. Now, as humanity revealed its true face to the galaxy, it was time to show what lay beneath the deception. What you're about to see, Elena explained to the wide-eyed delegates, represents 300 years of uninterrupted human scientific advancement. While we showed the Alliance our outdated fusion reactors, we were perfecting quantum energy manipulation. While we demonstrated primitive shield technology, we were mastering dimensional phase shifting. The main laboratory complex stretched for kilometers under Europa's ice, a marvel of engineering that had never appeared on any Alliance survey. The visiting scientists, the finest minds from a dozen species, struggled to process what they were seeing. Impossible, whispered Dr. Xanthor, his compound eyes reflecting the soft blue glow of a quantum computation matrix. These energy readings, they violate fundamental laws of physics. Elena smiled. They violate Alliance understanding of physics. We discovered long ago that the universe operates on principles far more complex and far more interesting than anyone imagined. She led them past rows of experimental devices that defied Alliance classification. Matter replicators that worked at the quantum level, gravity manipulation systems that could create stable wormholes, biological engineering that could reshape entire ecosystems. Here's something you might find particularly interesting, Elena said, stopping before a massive spherical chamber. We call it the Nexus. It's a quantum entanglement network that allows instantaneous communication across any distance. No lag, no signal degradation, no possibility of interception. The Alliance scientists crowded around the observation window, their various sensory organs struggling to comprehend what they were seeing. Inside the chamber, streams of data flowed through quantum fields in patterns that seemed to defy reality itself. The Alliance considered quantum entanglement communication impossible, said Professor Clara, her crystalline form vibrating with excitement. The energy requirements alone were solved 60 years ago, Elena finished. The breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. We stopped trying to force quantum particles to maintain entanglement and instead learned to create spaces where entanglement was the natural state. She led them deeper into the facility, past laboratories where human scientists worked on projects that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. Each revelation seemed to simultaneously answer questions and raise new ones. But why? Asked Dr. Xanthort finally. Why hide all of this? The Alliance would have welcomed such advances. The benefits to all species. Elena stopped, turning to face the delegation. Would they have? Really? When humanity first reached the stars, we were welcomed with condescension at best, suspicion at most. The Alliance's history is filled with examples of primitive species being guided into development paths that benefited established powers. She gestured at the surrounding facility. We chose a different path. We showed you what you expected to see, a young species stumbling toward the stars. Meanwhile, we built this, all of this, not just the technology, but a new way of thinking about advancement itself. The tour continued through sections dedicated to medical research, where human scientists had mapped the genetic codes of every known species and developed treatments for diseases the Alliance had considered incurable. They passed environmental engineering labs where terraforming technology had been refined to an art form, capable of making any world habitable without destroying its native ecosystem. 3 months ago, Elena said, stopping before a final set of doors, an Alliance corporate raid destroyed one of our small research outposts. 12 scientists died. Their work, ironically, was focused on developing more efficient food production methods for resource-poor worlds. The delegation shifted uncomfortably. The raid had been one of the catalysts for humanity's revelation of their true capabilities. We could have retaliated then. We could have revealed ourselves a dozen times over the centuries when Alliance actions threatened our people. But we waited. We built. We prepared. Not for war, but for the moment when we could reveal everything without fear of it being stolen, controlled, or suppressed. The doors opened to reveal a vast chamber dominated by a holographic display of the galaxy. But this wasn't the galaxy as the Alliance knew it. This was humanity's true map, showing hidden research stations, quantum communication networks, and technological achievements that spanned thousands of light years. What you're seeing, Elena explained, is the real state of human advancement. We didn't just develop new technologies. We created entire new fields of science. We didn't just build hidden facilities. We established a parallel civilization that could survive and thrive regardless of Alliance acceptance. The Alliance scientists stared at the display, their various expressions registering shock, awe, and in some cases, a deep understanding of just how fundamentally the galaxy had changed. We're sharing this with you now, Elena continued, because we believe the galaxy is ready for change. The old hierarchies are crumbling. The old assumptions about what's possible are being challenged. Humanity is ready to work with any species willing to approach us as equals, not to dominate, but to collaborate. As the delegation continued to study the holographic display, Elena watched their reactions with quiet satisfaction. The truth of Terra was finally being revealed, and with it, the promise of a future where advancement came not from competition and control, but from cooperation and shared discovery. The age of secrets was over. The time for sharing knowledge had begun. A new order. The new Geneva space station hung in high orbit above Earth, its crystalline structures reflecting sunlight in ways that made it appear both ethereal and immovable. Unlike the utilitarian designs humanity had previously shown the galaxy, this station represented their true architectural capabilities, a perfect blend of art and engineering that had left visiting species in awe. Supreme Coordinator Marcus Chen stood at the window of the Grand Assembly Hall, watching as ships from across the galaxy arrived for the historic signing. Each vessel represented a species that had chosen to join what was being called the Galactic Concordat, a new organization built on principles of genuine cooperation rather than hierarchical control. Quite a sight, isn't it? Admiral Sarah Mitchell appeared beside him, her dress uniform pristine. 3 months ago, they thought we were barely capable of maintaining our own colonies. Now they're coming to us to reshape the galaxy. Marcus nodded, his eyes tracking a particularly elegant vessel that could only be from the Andromedan League. How many have confirmed their participation? 78 species so far, Sarah replied, including, surprisingly, the Bright Empire. Apparently, seeing their best ships disabled without firing a shot convinced them to reconsider their position in the galaxy. The hall behind them was filling with representatives from across known space. The remnants of the old alliance, those who had chosen adaptation over isolation, mingled with independent species who had long avoided alliance politics. The atmosphere was charged with an energy that felt like hope. Director Zhang's report just came in. Sarah continued, her voice lower. The quantum entanglement network is ready. Once the Concordat is established, we can begin sharing the communication technology with all member species. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The network had been one of humanity's greatest achievements, and keeping it hidden for so long one of their greatest challenges. Now it would serve as the backbone of a new era of galactic cooperation. Chancellor Rodriguez is ready to begin, his aide announced quietly. Marcus turned from the window to face the assembled delegates. Elena Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's first Chancellor of External Affairs, stood at the central podium. The same woman who had revealed humanity's scientific achievements to an astonished galaxy would now help shape its future. Distinguished representatives, Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall. We gather today not to replace one power structure with another, but to establish something unprecedented in galactic history, a true partnership of equals. The hall fell silent as she continued. Humanity's journey to this moment has been unusual. We chose deception not out of malice, but out of necessity. We built in secret not to gain advantage, but to ensure that when we finally revealed ourselves, we could do so from a position of genuine equality. Holographic displays activated around the hall, showing the proposed structure of the Concordat. Unlike the old alliance's rigid hierarchy, this was a web of interconnected relationships, with each species contributing its strengths while receiving support in areas of weakness. What we propose is simple, Elena explained. Open sharing of technology and knowledge, collaborative research and development, joint exploration of the unknown regions, a defense force drawn from all member species, coordinated but not controlled by any single power. She gestured to the displayed information. Every species here has something unique to offer. The Andromedans' expertise in bioengineering, the Bright Empire's mastery of crystal technology, Earth's quantum mechanics breakthroughs. Imagine what we could achieve by combining these capabilities instead of hoarding them. The proposals were comprehensive, but revolutionary in their simplicity. Trade would be based on mutual benefit, rather than dominated by established powers. Technology would be shared through a carefully managed program that ensured no species could use it against others. Exploration would be conducted jointly, with discoveries benefiting all members equally. We understand that trust must be earned, Elena acknowledged. Humanity's deception, however necessary we believed it to be, has taught us the importance of transparency. That is why Earth will be the first to completely open its technological database to all Concordat members. A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. The database contained centuries of human advancement, everything from quantum physics to medical breakthroughs, from advanced AI to environmental engineering. In return, we ask only for your genuine commitment to this new path. The galaxy is vast, and we have explored barely a fraction of it. Together, we could accomplish things none of our species could achieve alone. The voting process began, each species registering their decision through the quantum-secured systems humanity had provided. Marcus watched the results flow in, each positive response another step toward the future they had spent centuries preparing for. Hours later, as the formal ceremonies concluded and the Galactic Concordat officially came into being, Marcus found himself back at the window. The ships outside were beginning to power up their drives, but not to leave. They were preparing to link up with the quantum entanglement network, taking the first step toward true galactic integration. Was it worth it? Sarah asked quietly, joining him again. 300 years of hiding, of playing the primitive species, of watching our people die in raids we could have prevented. Marcus thought about the question carefully. Look out there, he said finally. Those ships represent species that 3 months ago were bitter rivals or dismissive superiors. Now they're preparing to share technology, resources, and knowledge in ways the old alliance never imagined possible. He turned to face her. We could have revealed ourselves centuries ago. We could have used our technology to dominate, to take revenge for the condescension and restrictions. Instead, we waited until we could offer something better than conquest. We offered cooperation. Around them, the station hummed with activity as the new Concordat began its work. Research teams were already forming, combining expertise from a dozen species. Defense fleets were being reorganized into joint task forces. Exploration missions were being planned for regions of space no single species had dared venture into alone. The age of deception was over. The age of division was ending. A new order was rising, not through force or fear, but through the patient, careful revelation of a better way forward. Humanity had hidden their light for 3 centuries, not to keep it for themselves, but to ensure that when it finally shone, it would illuminate a path forward for all species. The galaxy would never be the same, and that had been the plan all along.